You've done a lot of sideman stuff. Who all have you worked with?
Did Ariana Grande, Robin Thicke, Chrisette Michelle, and a little bit with Jamie Foxx, and now Charlie.
From the Gap Band. So how is that? What have you learned from that gig?
Not to sound corny, but the meaning of like really true hard work. Like his story is incredible. He was like famous from the Gap Band years, but then had a serious drug addiction, and went all the way down to being homeless like for like years, and then made his way back up to where he is now. But in rehearsals, like we would be playing stuff, and I was like, "Oh man, that sounded great." And he was like, "Stop, bass player, you played the wrong note." And it was like in the mix of like a 12-piece band. It was like, how do you even hear that? And it's just like his work ethic is just like nothing I've ever seen. And it's kind of inspiring.
He cares.
No, like he genuinely cares about every, like, there's not a sound in his music that is not intentional.
Hi, I'm Norm. I was born and raised in Japan, and I'm half Japanese. When I was a kid, I took a couple strings off an old guitar, and that was the beginning of my career as a bass player. Two of my favorite things are music and sushi. Welcome to my home. I'm Norm Stockton, and this is Grooves and Sushi. Making music with the players in today's lineup is both surreal and unbelievably inspiring. Our cast includes world-renowned drummer Mr. Gregg Bissonette, the ever-extraordinary cellist Mr. Erdis Maxalaku, trumpet master Mr. Brandyn Phillips, piano virtuoso Mr. Rob Rinderer, guitar vibe monster Mr. Justin Hepner, and the professor of the synth Mr. Brian Willett. We always look forward to the sushi artistry of the fabulous Chef Kevin, and today's no exception. But first to the music. Today we'll be performing a very special song to me called Fragile When Fractured. This lineup of musicians has never played together, and this song has never been performed before this taping.
love the fact. Oh, you're a beautiful man. What's going on here?
Tuna, fresh tuna sushi. That's the best piece of the tuna. So it's for sushi. The salmon sushi, albacore, and then spicy yellowtail sushi.
Okay, nigiri.
Yeah, nigiri.
Which
good stuff.
we've talked about this. Actually, me and Brian have talked about this too. But you want to expound on the nigiri versus the American sushi thing?
So nigiri is a concept in Japanese that explains how you form something with your hand. So you can actually use it for other things, but since you form sushi with your hand, basically a slang term for sushi is nigiri. But sushi only refers to nigiri. So like traditional sushi places only serve nigiri. So people would always say, I like sushi, I love sushi, but even if you get all sashimi, you don't get any sushi, you're not eating sushi. And if you get only rolls, you're not getting
with
sushi.
all sorts of different sauces.
Exactly.
That's an American construct.
Because the Japanese truly value the sense of rice.
Sushi is all about the rice.
Yeah, they have like 9 words for rice or something. They're crazy. They're like the Eskimos with snow. And so like rice means so many things to them. So sushi isn't about.
Right, that's great.
Mine like you left us on the road back there, but okay. So you weren't a classical music snob.
No, actually, I kind of got tired of that whole scene of the classical music, snobs, like you said.
Tuxedos.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so the classical thing though is like to me that's an interesting world because we talked about this a little bit in the first shoot, but there's this concept of you've nailed it when you play it perfectly as it's supposed to be played. Mm-hmm. There's a big paradigm difference between that and improvised music where it's like, hey, we're gonna make it different every time. Like what's your take on that whole thing?
Yeah, I mean that's you said it very well, but at the same time in classical music we do look like we're kind of stiff in a way that you have to play it exactly like it's on paper, but there's some movements that you can do, some freedom I should say they can do as an instrumentalist. You kind of put your own taste to the piece, even though you're supposed to play it in a certain way, kind of thing.
Who's your favorite cellist of all time?
Probably Rostropovich, Russian cellist. Yeah.
Does he burn?
Big time.
He shreds, man.
He shreds? Cello?
Circular bowing.
Exactly.
Circular bow.
I think of food a lot when I think of music because I think of the spice aspect or whatever.
Spicy food. My favorite Indian restaurant down the street, I used to go there every night, but last week the chef fell into a korma. Anyway, spicy food.
I'm here all...
No, but yeah, spicy food and passion. I love spicy food. And like my favorite drummers are the passionate ones, you know. Like when I saw Ringo play as a kid, he was just going for it. And Tony Williams with Miles Davis, who was my teacher for a couple of years. I got to study with him.
Was he really?
Yeah, I saw an ad on the bottom of Bay Area magazine, newspaper. Tony Williams accepting private drum students. You got to be kidding me. He was 17 when he was Miles Davis's drummer. And I learned so much about his passion. And just, you know, Vinnie Colaiuta, you mentioned him, just passionate. And spicy food is, you know, Kevin, you're very passionate about what you're doing there. It's all about, you're doing it. It's all about the passion.
I was thinking about this a while back because I find that the stuff that stays on my playlist is the stuff that moves my heart. It's almost never the stuff that moves me intellectually. Like, I may have something where it's like, wow, that's fast, or wow, that's tight. But after a couple of listens, it's like, eh. But it's the stuff that makes me want to cry or makes me want to scream or jump up and down. That's the stuff that I feel like that's really the emotional aspect of music is like, if it doesn't have that thing going, if it's not moving people's hearts, it's like, it's just math and gymnastics, really, you know? Yeah. I don't know if I should, I might cut this out if this is not kosher to say, but I have the bootleg Beatles recordings, the 8 tracks, right? Where you can actually listen, and it's actually kind of almost a spiritual experience for me, because I started playing bass from being a Beatles freak, and Paul McCartney is why I started, which is another amazing thing because he plays with Ringo Starr. But and he just showed us a clip of him playing with Paul McCartney. But
well, Paul came out and said and surprised Ringo for Ringo's 70th, and we did a secret sound check, and then Ringo came out at the end. You know, Yoko was out doing "Give Peace a Chance," and then the lights went up, and Paul came out, and we did da 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 da, and he came up and played drums, and there's Ringo and there's Paul. I was crying, you know, like, man, this is
awesome.
But
yeah, the when you isolate stuff in those recordings, they lack precision, quote unquote. Like, there's some stuff there you're listening to, and it's like, yeah, you know, most people that I know would have stopped the take and said, yeah, can we let's just do that one more time. But all that stuff together, it's like, no, this is perfect.
It's a perfect sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And there were 4 guys playing in a room like we did.
But
today.
there's always the feeling thing, right? There's always. It's always passion.
It's about the song. Ringo says, you know, sometimes when I'm warming up backstage and I'm getting all my hands going and stuff, he says, why are you doing that? I said, I'm just warming up. He goes, you know, I never sat on the drums unless I was playing with people. You never just sat down to play the kit? Why would I? I was like, that's heavy. You play to play with your friends, to make music, you know. So, yeah, those were 4 guys making songs together like we did today with Storm and Norman Stockton.
Yeah, there's something about doing it in a room together all live like that. You just get something that you don't get otherwise.
Right.
It's not that one's right or one's wrong, but you definitely get something that you just can't get if you're doing it one at a time.
There's a synergy aspect, yeah.
I came from a background of like jamming, writing parts, and listening to other people playing. So I was blown away when I like started playing in churches that nobody listens to anybody else in a worship band.
Yeah.
Because I was used to like hey, we're all in a room together, we're listening to what each other are playing. I know that what I'm playing doesn't work with what you're playing because I can hear it. But like in the worship setting, everybody's just kind of like in their own zone, playing whatever they want, and like not even listening to like the big picture.
The kids listening, that's not really the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
You want to be listening to what everyone else is doing.
I wonder how much of that. Now, obviously, there's a different vibe that happens in different sort of church music environments, right? The gospel thing, that's highly interactive,
Right.
Because so much of it is improvised. But especially like Orange County, it tends to be we're playing the recorded version. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the people are like, well, no, my part goes like this. I don't know what you're doing, but my part goes like this, right? And it's like there's not that interactive creating together aspect of it. And I wonder how much of that is actually like, how much of that is by design, how much of that is just by default, and how much of that is maybe because people don't have the skills to do it. Because that you have to have skills, you have to have your ear together to be able to hear what each other is doing and respond, right?
I think teaching myself, I never took lessons for any instrument that I play. I taught myself guitar, and then I have a identical twin brother, who started playing guitar. And I was like, I can't play guitar, so I started playing piano because I wanted to do something different because I'm a twin. But I just like sat in a room for hours with headphones on, teaching, playing along to like songs, teaching myself theory, and this is pre like YouTube and everything too, which is crazy. So it's just like really figuring it out. But I think because I taught myself, I learned to listen, and I think learning to listen. When you're classically trained, sometimes you're not taught to listen. You're just taught to play. You're taught to play the notes that you see in front of you.
Yeah. On my part of the Sushi CD, I did a lot of more conventional kind of bass effect stuff, envelope filters or whatever, kind of the stuff that people are used to hearing. And on this project, there's definitely, especially some of the stuff we played today, a lot more kind of textural, weirder stuff, And you were like one of my main influences in that regard, because you're such a painter.
That was super fun for me though too, Norm, because I think you find out a lot about people when you see the risk that they take, and you were like looking at effects as something legitimate. You're like, wow, this is like really cool. I want to try that. And I was like, he's probably just saying that to like make friends or to be nice to me. Because you're Norm Stockton, and so you're talking to me about these things, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, so I got these pedals, and I'm like, you got pedals? What are you gonna do with those? And I'm like, there's a very limited range of like bass.
You're a bass player, right?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we're doing these Good Friday services that are literally like 75, 80 minutes of just music with no spoken word. And we're writing underscores, improvising underscores. It was really special for me to watch you go through adopting whatever the sounds were. You take those pedals and you turn it into something that's really fun. The Fragile When Broken is incredible. The beginning of that is massive in gravity. There's something really significant there. And the pedal brought something out of you. Right? It took all of the dissonance, resonance, all of it, and made it into something really special. So I think it's been a unique contribution for you, for the project we're doing. It's pretty incredible.
Reach in and grab it, and then we're gonna keep going. So,
Yeah. Oh, I guess. Yeah. Just take a whole one. That's fine.
To good food and good company, what more could you want? Oh, good music.
Yeah.